So good afternoon to every one of you. Karibuni sana to this particular webinar. It's indeed a very interesting webinar where we shall learn how to, as organizations, how to deal with a new crowd that is called Gen Z. So if you're new here, my good name is Njoku. I'm the managing partner of Njoku and Associate Advocates. We are a corporate commercial law firm based in Nairobi. And over and above catering to our clients, we also have this platform where we are able to discuss matters law and matters that have a tinge of the law. Just you'll see the conversation today. And I hope that you're going to have a wonderful time as we still engage in this conversation. So today I'm not alone. To have this conversation, I needed someone who is a bit more experienced when it comes to matters, career coaching, etc. And I'm joined by Daniel Mutuku. Daniel, karibu sana, and karibu to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am really happy and glad to be here. I'm very happy that each one of you got time to be able to join us this afternoon as we discuss matters Generation Z or Z, Gen Z. And they are the new workforce or people who are joining our organizations. And it's good for us to know who they are, how they behave, what motivates them, and see how best can we be able to utilize or have a conducive working environment. There's a radio here, yeah? What belongs to you, but other people use it more than you. So just trying to keep us active and not just asleep. So let me check in the chat. Here's the question for you. Hopefully you can hear me and you can see that I'll be waiting for you to drop that in the chat. Let me just say, as I wait for the answers to come in, I can introduce myself. My name is Daniel Mutuku. I'm the founder of Career Point Solutions and Leaders on Point. And over the last 12 years, I've been blessed that I've been in a position to gain a lot of experience when it comes to recruitment, career, and leadership coaching. On top of that, I'm a certified digital marketer. And among other groups, I am a member of the League of Young Professionals, also known as LYP. In addition to that, I'm an author of several books. The first book I published back in 2016, that was Facebook for Profit, how you can easily use Facebook for profit and an extra income, even on a part-time basis. The second book I was able to publish was Blueprint for Success, Guaranteed Steps to Achieving Anything. Then there are two books that I also have out there for free. Actually, I think there are three. Yeah, there's this one, Conquer the Year Ahead, Make the Next 12 Months the Best Year Ever. And then we also have the Ultimate Cover Letter Guide, 101 Sample Cover Letters. By the way, if you need this, you can be able to get. And recently, I just published this book called How to Quit Your Banking Job and Transition to NGOs and the UN or international organization. I have a YouTube channel. I will ask you immediately after this, just go search Daniel Mutuku, yeah, and subscribe to the channel if you want to get lots of information in terms of career growth, in terms of productivity. Recently, we started a series on productivity. How can you be productive at work? How can you scale and get to the next level of your career? We have also topics to do with leadership, how you can be able to unlock your leadership success and all that. So thank you, thank you. I can see the answers coming. So what is it that is yours, but others use it more than yours? I can see Solomon, you're saying, hard one. I think it's mind. Others use your mind, but okay, I can see also Jogo and Associates talking about the mind. John, you talk about time. Yeah, all those are possible answers, but the answer is your name. It's yours, but I doubt if you always call yourself, but people call you more than that. Let's get to today's presentation. Let's talk about this Generation Z, Gen Z. Who are they? These are individuals who are born around the mid-90s to the early 2010s. They are the youngest generation in the workforce, and they are often characterized by very unique perspective, behaviors, and values. So if on average, if you check someone who was born around 2000, by now they're around 23 years old, yeah? So probably if they just went through college, they're through their first year of working or second year, or some are just graduating and they want to get into the workplace. So it's good for us to have that frame in mind. The other thing that they are mainly characterized is that they are the technology natives. They have grown up with the technology. It is just right at their fingertips. This makes them the digital natives. They are highly comfortable with smartphones, social media, and other tools for communication and work. So you'll find that unlike, is it the millennials, probably the digital revolution found them already probably in college or when they're just starting to work. So at least they had that firsthand. But with this generation Z or Z, you'll find that they were born with the technology, as in they don't know anything. I happen to be in a school, and when we take students to a trip and we tell them that that place, there's no electricity, there's no Wi-Fi, there's nothing, as in they'll just be getting a spot where they can be able to charge their phone, but the best they can do is just record videos. There's nothing, they can't send anything. And they're like, how do people survive without internet? Yeah, this is the kind of generation that knows technology throughout. You tell them that in your days, there were no such things. They really wonder, how did you survive that area? Moving a little bit now in terms of the workplace, you'll find that Gen Z value diversity and inclusivity in the workplace. They seek out employers who promote diversity or a diverse environment and are vocal about issues related to equity and social justice. And they don't keep quiet about some of these social injustice. I know maybe the older generation, the millennials, and maybe before that, you would find someone would work in an environment which is not very conducive, but they will stick in there because they say, I have kids that I have to feed, I have kids I have to take to school, so I'll just take it up, and as long as I'm able to provide for my family. This is unlike the Gen Z. They will speak up. And at the same time, they bring in the idea of being inclusive. And I think that is why you can see the whole conversation mainly talking about the LGBTQ. And the Gen Z are like, what is wrong with that? Older generations are like, I don't want to hear anything like that, yeah? Maybe at a personal level or at an organization or even at a family level. But to them, they're like, these are people just like us. They're very open-minded and they think about inclusion and diversity. Now, when it comes to how they work, a research was done, and this was Talent LMS and Bamboo HR. And they actually found out when it comes to Gen Z that 45%, they prefer our hybrid kind of working model. Then 29% fully remote, office-based is 24%, and others would be about 2%. And something interesting is that a bigger chunk or some of these Gen Zs, they have their first job. Remember, COVID hit around 2020, and most of the jobs went remote. And this is the time that most of them were either graduating or they're just getting their first job. And so you'll find that some of them were hired directly from the university and they were working remotely. And when you tell them now it's time to go back to work, to the office, physical, they really don't know what that is. And it's a new experience to them. And of course, they're like, would prefer if we do hybrid. Yeah, a bit of the work, the physical one, we see what is there, we meet, we can network, but also do it from home. So if you're an employer, I think this is something that you need to consider, especially the kind of job that you have. I know not all kind of jobs really work well remotely or with hybrid. But depending with your industry or the kind of work and your employees, if you have a lot of Gen Zs, this is something for you to consider. Can you be able to make it a little bit more flexible in terms of how they work? The Gen Zs are known for instant gratification. They grow up in an age of the internet, and they are accustomed to instant gratification and expect quick responses and results in their workplace. Does that mean that it's a good thing or is it a bad thing? It is how you look at it. And I think if I am a team leader and among my team members, I have a lot of Gen Zs, and we are doing something that is tough, that does not have immediate results, it is good for me, having known this, to give them that frame of mind and let them know that this is going to take time. This is not going to have results right away. And it does not mean if there is no result right away that it's a bad thing. It does not mean that it's not working. Sometimes there are things that you need to give time. If you can be able to put them in a project where results are quick, then you are putting them in the zone where they like most, and probably chances of them being successful there is very high. So it's how you look at it and how you balance. I don't think it is a bad thing, but what we have learned over time, I think experience has it that good things, there's a saying, good things come to those who wait. Yeah. And it's good for you to put in the time, the effort, and trust the process. And this is something that as a leader, you can actually be able to mentor and coach the Gen Z to adopt, because it cuts across everything in life, at work, health, finances. You don't just start saving today and voila, you have $1 million or something of that sort. It takes time. So it's something that you can be able to coach them over. Poster talked more about job security with the Gen Zs. Now, despite being perceived as job hoppers, Gen Z values job security and they usually seek stability in their careers. Employers should emphasize career path and opportunities for enhancement to retain this generation. It's only that we think that they are not loyal, but at the core of it, they really seek job security. But it is how you motivate them. It is once you understand what is it that they like, or what is it that they are motivated with, and provide it to them. If you don't, for example, there is the previous point we talked about inclusivity and diversity. If they find that you are fixed-minded, you're not very inclusive, you are not, they have raised the issue about maybe some social justice that need to be done in the workplace, and the best you can do is just blame them and demean them and put them down, they will not stay there. They will just move on. And that is probably where we get the perception that they are more of job hoppers. But on the flip side, as an employer, you should guide them and actually emphasize on career path. If guided, if you show them, if you stay here, if you stick in here, this is the career path that you can be able to take. These are some of the opportunities that you will get as you move on. Then once you have create that picture, mold it, it is easy to retain them. It is easy to have them stick long enough and actually even get that kind of loyalty. As I told you, it's about coaching them. How do you show them the path? Another way that I've seen really working when it comes to Gen Z is for you to retain them. Think now as an employer, as a leader, and you have some of these people in your team. How do you keep them longer? Gen Z appreciate regular feedback and recognition for their effort. Do not hold back recognition. Yeah. And also give them constructive feedback that can help them improve on something probably that they are not doing well. Yeah. They thrive in environments that offer constructive criticism and acknowledge their achievement. It goes hand in hand. You can't just be giving them negative feedback without recognizing the little that they are doing well. Recognize them. Have them feel as if they're doing at least something right, even if 90% of it is not yet correct. Acknowledge that 10%, and with time, you will realize that it will grow. I like this quote by Steve Covey, and he talks about, I am not a product of my circumstance. I am a product of my choices. This goes very well to say that Gen Zs, there are certain circumstances that they have grown around. We make that judgment that that is how they are, and probably that is how they behave, which might be true, but at a very individual level, you and me and them, it's good for you as a leader or as an employer to let them know they are also a result of the decision they make. Yes, it is said that Gen Zs have this urge for instant gratification, but you can take a personal decision and say, no, I'll not be defined that way. There are so many aspects that probably I haven't been able to mention when it comes to Gen Z. But let me say this, the idea of flexible work arrangement, this was really pushed by COVID, the pandemic, because that is the time when they were getting into the job market. And you realize that Gen Zs, they tend to prioritize work-life balance and value flexibility of work arrangement. The other thing I would like also to mention is that most of the Gen Zs are they have that entrepreneurial mindset. And it does not mean that all people with an entrepreneurial mindset can only start and run a business. Yeah. They can also be, you can be able to really tap into that mindset and help or use that in your organization in terms of getting those opportunities for innovation to create new ventures and actually allowing them to thrive in their space. I would want to ask if there is any question. Oh, and before I do that, let me just put this as a shameless plug. Here at Career Point Solutions, we do offer free CV review and career coaching. If you are interested as an individual, or if you know someone in your team that would benefit from this, maybe they are a Gen Z, or even your brother or your sister, I think at this point, I will pause and invite any question if we might.
I am looking at the numbers. 45% want hybrid, 25% fully remote, I think 24% office.
Yes.
And the question is, I'm wondering whether the tenets of, hard work and all those things have really changed over the centuries, right? And this for me is in relation to, there's a lot of gig economy now. There's a lot of gig economy. Yes. And the balance again with loyalty, the balance again with giving an employee what they want. What's the balance really? The tenets of hard work, giving the employee what they want. There is no loyalty because then there is a gig economy. The people want to, there is always a shiny object coming across. What's the line? What's the connecting dots for all that?
Okay, let me say this. When it comes to this kind of percentage, hybrid, full-time or office-based, you realize that previously we thought that work was done when we saw people in offices. And we know that is not true, at least for some jobs. You don't necessarily need to see someone in the office for you to actually confirm that they are working hard or they are doing their job. Yeah. There's that old way of managing called mbwa, yeah? Management by walking around. And sometimes that actually, some people knew how to hack that system. And instead of people being productive in the office, all they did was just being busy. There's a difference between just doing some activities, doing so many activities, and being productive or productivity. So you'll find someone who is knows here's the boss. They have this glass kind of glass wall or the door, and they are busy crossing around there with papers coming in. They need signing, and they are very busy, but not very productive. So I think that is the first thing to understand. Based on the kind of work it is, what is it? You don't necessarily need to see people there in the office. Now, the other thing is, remember we talked about they are a bit entrepreneur, and it comes in with a lot of discipline, and this is where coaching also it's very important, because someone is busy doing the work, but they also have a certain gig, and because they know this one maybe pays immediately after an hour or a day or two, they can easily put on hold the main work so that they can be able to work on this other thing, get paid quickly, and they can proceed. I would say you really need to be able to coach and mentor this generation quite well for them to understand what is the main priority. I'll tell you two scenarios, yeah? Number one, when COVID hit, in my specific company, we of course went home, and people are working from home, but immediately things opened up. I had to call back my staff. I realized there is very little that is happening from home. And you would find, of course, there are so many excuses that can be given because you're not there to confirm. It's difficult to actually know if these people are working. Yeah, there are certain outputs that are there, but someone, of course, can do it anytime. But there was something that was missing. We had to come back to the office. Another case study or a scenario. I have a friend of mine who also, the workers went home, and I think they worked almost for a whole or 2 years. And then at some point, he had to call them back to the office. And there's one who decided not to come to the office because they were working remotely. They were, I think where they were working, there was no commute. It was much cheaper in terms of house rent because they were off the city. And I think they were also engaged in other side hustles or the gigs. And so it was costly for them to come back to the office. Only one person in that company currently works remotely because this person has the discipline, he delivers, and he's free to do any other thing because he has delivered on the main thing. So in different cases, it will have different kind of remedy, or what I would say, but knowing what are the deliverables, what are the outputs, how are you measuring the productivity is more important rather than just seeing people in the office and saying, oh, then they are working.
All right. We have a question in the chat session.
Yes.
So John asks, are they entrepreneurial or high-risk takers? It seems to be conflicting with the instant gratification. So which is which? Are they entrepreneurial or high-risk takers?
Being an entrepreneur does not necessarily mean you are a high-risk taker. Yeah. I think the entrepreneurial bit we are talking about is being more of a problem solver, thinking about problem in a creative way or in an innovative way to be able to bring in a solution to a problem. When it comes to risk-taking, that is a different thing from being entrepreneur. And that is only that most entrepreneurs are risk takers, and not necessarily even entrepreneurs. There's a difference between being an entrepreneur and being a business person. A business person is he who takes the risk. But you'll find from an entrepreneur perspective is someone who is running a business, but it's not just a business like any other. There is a solution that they are bringing. There's a unique way that they are presenting the offering. It might be the same product or service, but how they're offering it is a different way. So there's that bit. When it comes also to risk-taking, I would say people in general have a there's a very big range or difference in terms of risk-taking, which is highly influenced, number one, by their upbringing. You might find, yes, someone who is Gen Z, but the environment where they grew up in, there wasn't that much risk-taking. Probably their parents, the environment, their school, or where they are, they didn't see much people taking risk. So they end up being more risk averse. And there are some people just based on the environment, they end up being able to take a lot of risk. So risk-taking, I wouldn't say, we can't just say across the board that Gen Zs are risk takers, or they are not, but they are more of entrepreneur in the sense of thinking of a problem in an innovative and creative way and thinking about how do we bring the solution. And the other thing, what makes them more entrepreneurial is because being the tech natives, there are a lot of solutions that they can see that can be solved with the technology. Maybe just to touch on instant gratification. You see, with technology, it's very easy for you to get feedback, even if you're running a simple business. Yeah. Right now, I can tell you, they don't need to register. Someone does not need to register a business to be able to be in operation to know if it is going to fail or it's going to thrive. With the technology, they can easily do something, I don't know, on social media, create a website, create a web page, do a survey or something, and then they realize, oh, this is not what I thought it would actually bring. Unlike previously, there was the procedure or the process of you getting feedback of if an opportunity is going to be to take off or not was a little bit harder. So because of the technology also, they have learned to get some of these things quickly. And so there's that idea of instant gratification.
So would you say, Daniel, it's a question of not of being intrapreneurial as opposed to entrepreneurial? Like within the organization, you are so happy to come up with solutions and etc. Is that the difference, intrapreneurial as opposed to, I think the word is entrepreneurial?
Yeah. And if you remember, I mentioned with this kind of entrepreneurial mindset or intrapreneurial, I don't know how to put it across here. You see, an entrepreneur is someone who actually solves problems. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a way you can use that same kind of mindset to set up a business and run it. And then I think that is what we call the entrepreneur. But the entrepreneur mindset also in a company can still work, whereby someone can be able to make certain processes more efficient. They bring in ways that will either bring in more customers, save time, save money, and it is within the organization. So it's the same mindset, is only how you apply it. So when you go entrepreneur way, you're setting up the business. When you're doing intrapreneur, it's just providing the solution in an innovative and creative way within the organization, not necessarily saying, now I'll set up a business and run with it. You get, hopefully that is it, yeah?
Yes.
But also, maybe just to mention, you see, the same kind of way of thinking that help them come up with these solutions or provide innovative and creative ways is now, if that sense is not fully tapped in the work environment, then they will go and now be a bit of, I would call them the small entrepreneurs, where they are now doing their freelancing, they are busy on the gig economy and doing the side hustles, because that tends to actually utilize and they feel that urge being quenched, that at least I can see some impact that I'm doing. There is a solution, even if it is not being fully appreciated where I work.
So there's another question from Solomon. He asks, with Gen Z, well, there are a lot of online courses. Are they acceptable in the Kenyan job market? And if yes, how do we utilize them?
I am a product of so many online courses. The line of work or some of the things that I've done, I don't have any official, can I say, qualification or setup or papers for that. But does that make me less qualified or less valuable in the marketplace? No. And I can tell you this kind of questioning brings in the idea that we know we have been brought up to think that only universities, only accredited institutions can give us a certificate, and that kind of certificate is what really makes us be able to do certain jobs. And that is the other way around. I am a great advocate of personal development, where you are very deliberate in terms of identifying a skill that you would want to improve and going ahead and doing all that it takes, reading books, watching even free YouTube videos that allow you to get a skill, to learn to do a skill, do these online courses, and get that skill that will enable you to go to the next level. Now, is it acceptable in the marketplace? Probably not so many organizations, or will say we accept this kind of online courses. But the thing is, are you able to do that which you say you claim to have done that course? Because I'll tell you this, I have had online sessions, online trainings, free of charge. Even I used to have physical trainings, which were free of charge. And the best I would get, maybe most people would ask, will I get a certificate for it? And I'm like, why do you need a certificate for it? It's because we think getting certificates, that is what really now will impress the employer. But on the flip side, it is, do you have that skill? Can you really do that thing? Yeah. And that also fits in, you have heard of us having half-baked graduates. People who have the papers, they have graduated, they have that degree, but they can't do anything in that specific field. Personally, of course, I am an IT guru in my own rating. I do a lot of IT stuff. I'm the one who sets up our website. I'm the one who has set up our online learning platform. I do a lot of digital marketing. I set up sales funnels and all that. I have not done any official IT class. I don't know, a degree in computer science or anything, or even a diploma. But where have I learned? Through online courses. I have done even some just through YouTube videos and Googling stuff. And I have that specific skill. It's only that I am motivated to do these courses or to do this stuff because I have a place to directly apply them, because I run the business. But if I was to be employed, I can still look for employment in that line and tell them, give me a chance, even without asking me about my papers about IT or digital marketing or anything. Allow me to run for you, set up a digital marketing campaign and run it for you and set up a sales funnel. If it doesn't work, or if it works, you give me the job. So it's not much about the papers. It's not about the physical certificate. It's about really thinking through what skill do you need to be able to get yourself to the next level, and how can I acquire this skill? Is it through an online course? Well and good. Let me do that course. Let me get that skill. Because the thing that makes you valuable in the marketplace, it is the skills gap. And skills have very little with the physical certificate, and if that certificate is accepted or not.
I'm thinking, Daniel, before
Yes.
someone else asks a question, that question by Solomon,
Yeah.
because as you say, a lot of organizations will require you to have a certificate, a certificate in something. So because you've been a career coach, and And you've seen that when once you walk in through the door, like now if I carry my LLB certificate, I have done other courses. Maybe I've done what you call digital marketing. I've done extra. So at this particular point in the interview, maybe is the advice to also just showcase that you have all these other skills that really you did not have a certificate for. Because to get into the door, you will need something that opens that door, which in most organizations is, are you an accountant? Have you done CPA? Are you a researcher? Tell us what kind of, degree do you have, or paperwork or diploma. So what is your advice to somebody who has done all these other extra when it's at the interview level and I've just gone for an accountant job? That's what I've gone for.
Okay, I would say this. You need to be very clear. What is it that you're selling? Now, when it comes to the whole job application process, it's a matter of selling, buying and selling. And in this case, you're selling yourself, not yourself, it might sound not quite good, your skills, your experience, and the value that you're bringing on board. And for this particular job, let's talk about an accountant. I'll talk about my ability to work as an accountant, my qualification in accounting, my experience in accounting, and really sell them through for them to know that I'm very good in terms of my job as an accountant, both on paper, on CV, on application, and all that. However, there is also a part in your CV where you can talk about additional qualification, additional information. And this additional information is what will set you apart from the rest of other accountants.
Thank you so much. I'm being corrected by John. He says, Madam Jogu, that is the old way of working. Gen Z are interviewed on capability. So now, a Gen Z in the legal profession, how do I interview capability without an LLB degree? How do I do that?
That is quite interesting. And that is actually just emphasizing on what John is saying. It is what we're talking about, their ability to do something. Of course, there are certain line of work which is very difficult for you to practice without maybe the right qualification. Just as you say, from a legal perspective, yes, they might have the certificate, they have done their degree, but probably it's how well can they argue a case? How well can they do something? And I think that is what you really have for the capability of them doing that job. Of course, backed by the degree. I don't think I'll go to the hospital and I'm told this doctor is the best. He has been studying on YouTube for the last 15 years and they don't have any medical kind of qualification. I don't know if you'll be very comfortable for them to do an operation on you. And they're like, they have learned everything they have perfected through YouTube. Of course, there is something that they can still learn on YouTube, but there is the bare minimum what actually put them in that line of work.
John is also quick to add that AI is taking away mandatory certification. Yes. Now we are getting to the realm of AI. Please, must make a comment, Daniel.
Actually, even before I talk about the AI, I think there's a time back I heard, or there was a news that I think it was Google and Microsoft that they were not demanding someone to have a degree. It was not a must for someone to have a degree. Yeah. And sometimes some of these companies, the Ivy League, they would be like, even certain law firms, I think I've been watching too much movies and they're like, we don't hire anyone who is not from Harvard. Like that is our line of thing. But nowadays, it is not that kind of what really the organization or the certificate or the college or whichever or the place you went to. When it comes to AI, I think here's my prediction. Yes, it's going to render many people jobless, or it's going to replace many of the people. But at the same time, it's going to provide as many opportunities as the ones that it will cancel out. How? It is those people who know how to use the AI to their advantage in their line of work, because AI cannot 100% replace everybody. It is just coming in as a complement. Let me take you a little bit back. there was a time where so many people were being employed in the bank. They were clerks, they were counting money, they were busy stamping your booklet. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember when you used to go to the bank with a book, they will record your balance, stamp it, and something of that sort. But then the ATM came and it replaced most of those clerks. But can we say that a bank can 100% run on an ATM or on technology? No, it has actually even created more opportunities if you know how to work or create apps or create more applications for the ATM and stuff. And that is why we have so many programming. Right now, even you can deposit, yes, money through the ATM. Does that mean it hasn't created some other opportunities as much as it has removed some? So I think that is the aspect that I look at AI through. It is coming to supplement certain opportunities. Maybe a certain organization had 10 workers, 8 of them will go home, 2 will remain who know how to use that AI to do that job. But if you think about how do I create specific AI for my industry, or that will make things much easier because you are more of an expert in that area, then that is how you thrive.
Thank you, thank you. The other day, I think in America, there was a lawyer that used AI to do case research. Unfortunately, the AI had really made up all the cases. And if we went to check now, because for us, we have a lot of precedents, they were non-existent to a point where he was almost, fined by the court. So nonetheless, I would want to give anybody else who has an opportunity to ask a question before I read John's comment. So John says that Gen Zs are looking for non-traditional jobs. They are looking into unconventional jobs like content creation and digital space jobs. I think they are not seeing value in our old ways and are bypassing the process. Is that true, Daniel?
I would say yes, partly true. They are seeing the opportunities that are there, but as they say, you can't run before you learn how to crawl. Yeah, they're trying to bypass the process. They don't see, yes, the value, but remember I talked about coaching and mentoring. Actually, there are certain things that you can learn from them that will help you. And also you, with your wisdom, having stayed here long enough, give them some wisdom that can help them actually really make these untraditional, unconventional jobs more sustainable. Yeah. You see, here's the thing. Let's talk about content creation as a conventional route. I am also a content creator. I do make some money out of content creation, but I'll tell you this, it is not all that glorious as it is said. I can see our time is up, but let me share a very short story. 2019, I decided I'm going to put all my effort and get back to my YouTube game. So I restarted my YouTube channel. By around the next, now 2020, around April, I started getting some traction. But I was already making money off YouTube because of YouTube, but not from the partnership program. Yeah. How? Because I was talking about CV writing, I was really educating my audience, and they would come and get some of the services that we offer. And I was like, I'm not really interested in the money from the ads on YouTube. But then I met this mentor, told me what to do on YouTube, and voila, my YouTube channel started taking off. And I remember it was end of August 2020, when I was finally monetized. And yes, I would start to earn money from YouTube. But oh and behold, I realized, yes, you might have a lot of views, but the amount of money you're making, it's not as glorious as it seems. Yeah. The thing is, those who would want to get to YouTube, you need to get at least $100 for you to be paid. Yeah, so the money will just be piling up. And I was like, oh my God, I was making either $1 or $2 in a day. But of course, I was consistent. I increased the views. It took me about 3 months to get that first check of $100, about 10K. And I can tell you, if I don't share that story, because I get some people come and tell me, me, I will just finish school. I'll be a content creator. I'll be on YouTube. I'll be doing it. And I'm like, it's still a process. It looks very glorious. Of course, people flash so much money showing you how much they are making money, just the laptop lifestyle. But with that kind of skill, with that kind of experience, when I actually advise and tell someone, you can put that as a sidekick that can help you, I can be able to give them some wisdom. And if they are willing to take, they will not just be bypassing and say, I want to be a content creator. I'm yet to see. Oh, of course they are. But even here in Kenya, 100% content creators making money out of the content, probably the dealership or the sponsorship and all that, that can be sustainable. But they also need a lot of advice in that too. But anyway, I really agree with what John is saying.
We thank you so much, Daniel, for the insightful conversation. John, in his final remarks, says thank you for the session because he has to go for another meeting and he's waiting for the sequel to this particular webinar. I think John has a lot of Gen Z experience. It is exhibiting itself. Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel. Ladies and gentlemen, do have yourselves a good afternoon. Thank you so much, Daniel, as well.